Hello and welcome to Los Angeles. It's not me that's small, it's the athletes that got big. 10 supreme strongmen from 9 different nations. They've travelled thousands of miles, they've endured the toughest set of heats we've ever had. Now, one of these men will be crowned World's Strongest Man 2012.
It's undoubtedly the strongest final lineup in the 35-year history of this tournament. Anyone from 10 men can realistically bid for the title. All eyes will be on the defending champion, Brian Shaw, but the giant from Colorado was far from his best in the heats, and there are rumours of a damaged nerve following his recent biceps injury. Will that stop the American from living up to his star billing? One of England's Terry Holland, Shaw's great friend and one-time training partner. He is back to his best and looking to go 1 or maybe 2 better than last year's third-place finish. And the man from Kent upset the odds. Or will the man some call the greatest strength athlete of all time regain the title he lost to Shaw last year? Zydrunas Savickas may be in the twilight of his career, but he's been setting the standards for the past decade. 10 mighty men, 6 grueling events. In the next hour, we'll find out the answer to the question, who is the world's strongest man?
All right then. Well, here's our first event at the Commerce Casino, and it's absolutely brutal. It is the Super Yoke. We saw this, of course, back in the heats, but now we've upped the ante, because now not only do our athletes have to pick up these massive weights, 975 pounds, that's almost half a ton, they then have to walk with them 20 metres up there, turn around, and then walk 20 metres back again to the start line. It's a double yoker, and I have to say, when I tried this earlier, the lactic acid buildup in the muscles was almost unbearable. Look for the bigger athletes like Brian Shaw, Mike Jenkins to do well here, but also potentially Britain's Terry Holland. Huge chance for him to put some big points on the board.
Well, Terry and Brian Shaw go in the second heat of Super Yoke, but 40 metres, 75 seconds time limit, and a massive 440 kilos, as was said before.
Serbia, please welcome Irvin.
This is a massive test for our 10 strongmen, and the first that we see, Irvin Katona.
Represents the great country of Canada. Please welcome JF.
JF Caron was very impressive during the heats. Could be a danger.
Competitor in lane number 3 represents the spectacular country of Sweden. Please welcome
Johannes Arho simply gets better and better with each appearance in World's Strongest Man.
Competitor from Poland, please welcome Krzysztof Radzikowski.
And Radzikowski, this young Polish man, he was superb in Heat 5, leading into this final.
America. Please welcome Mike Jenkins.
And you heard in the introductions that Mike Jenkins could be a danger. Well, he looks determined, but also he looks a little bit nervous too. So the World's Strongest Man final 2012 about to get underway. There certainly are a few nervous men out there on the start line, and away we go. Mike Jenkins is slow away, but look at Radzikowski. Absolutely flying down the course. The turn is going to be important. Radzikowski coming to a grinding halt there. Jenkins in the lead, Radzikowski just in second place. Then Johannes Arho. And the other 2 guys, JF Caron and Katona of Serbia, way behind. But Mike Jenkins sprinting away here, Colin.
I think he's going to get this. Oh, goodness me! We'll have to see a side angle for that one. Jenkins by a foot, I think. And Johannes Arho, he's in 3rd place. The other 2 are really struggling.
Well, he's got to get the trailing arm of those giant girders across the line, and Arho is struggling. So is Katona, and so is JF Caron. So only 2 men managed to finish the course. Jenkins was superb, 31.49, closely followed by Radzikowski, a whisker behind. What a start for the USA and for Poland.
Well, that was perfectly weighted. It really split the top men from the rest. And yes, Jenkins by about, look for the back bit, maybe 6 inches.
Lane number 5 from Lithuania, please welcome Vytautas Lalas.
Vytautas Lalas of Lithuania, 2 Lithuanians, of course, in this final, and they're both in this heat.
Number 4, please welcome from Iceland,
the giant Hafthor Bjornsson. The new man from Iceland, 6'9" tall.
Represents the great country of England. Please welcome Terry Holland.
And the sole man from the United Kingdom, representing England, comes from Dartford, Terry Hollands.
Please welcome Zydrunas Savickas.
Twice the world's strongest man in the past, but he lost his title last year. Zydrunas Savickas aiming to get his title back from this man, the giant Brian Shaw. Local favourite here, of course, in the USA. Certainly going to be tough to beat in defence of his title. So what a lineup for Heat 2 of the yoke carry.
Your position. Ready.
Look at the determination on Brian Shaw's face. And it's the American who gets away the quickest.
Well, it was a bit of a lackluster performance for Shaw in the heats, but now he's absolutely in fifth gear here. 31 seconds to beat, and he's 15 seconds at the turn.
And it's Lalas in the red on the far side, who's away well too on the second leg. And Savickas is miles behind. But Shaw wins it comfortably in the end, 28.4. Lalas in second place. And then I think was Terry Hollands. What about Savickas? Not good from the man who's won the title twice in the past, but brilliant from the defending champion, Brian Shaw of the USA.
Oh, 28.4 seconds. That's 2 seconds quicker than what Jenkins did. Yes, Lalas, he sneaks into second. Well, let's have a look at Shaw at the turn. That's where he really made his time up. So quick in the turn. Jenkins just took his time there.
Brian, amazing performance. You made it look easy. Almost 1,000 pounds. Surely it wasn't. Tell us about it.
Well, you know, it's always a little nerve-wracking getting started in the finals and a lot of tension in the air. And, you know, to come out and have a start like that, it just feels really good. You know, it wasn't, didn't feel that bad. It's just one of those things you just put one foot in front of the other and keep going, you know.
Were you holding back in the heats, and are you going 100% now?
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to, you know, use as little energy as possible in the heats. And, you know, my real contest coming here is the final, you know, and I came here to win, and that's a statement, that's a start, and, you know, that's what I plan on doing.
Well, no surprise as to the winner of our opening heat, Brian Shaw, looking very comfortable indeed. Terry Holland's off to a steady start, but he'll possibly have hope for better in this one of his stronger events. The big surprise, though, is Zydrunas Savickas, the Lithuanian legend, way down in 7th. And Big Z may have given up a valuable mental advantage to his American rival. Savickas will need to do better in some of his specialist events after the break. 5 more brutal tests of strength coming up.
Big Z not exactly pulling up trees in that first event, but he might do rather better with this. It is the giant log. Basically, it's a big tree trunk, which naturally we've added extra weight on the end. We start off at 170 kilos, and we keep going, adding weight with every successful lift until they can't go on any further. As you can see, I'm joined here by the man who, back in his day, was pretty much the best in the world at this, 3-time world's strongest man, Bill Kazmar. Bill, is this the purest test of strength we have?
Well, to me it is. You know, it's simply static strength, raw power, pick up something big, heavy, and ram it overhead. There's nothing better than this to show who's the strongest man.
Well, the world record in this was set by Big Z. He really needs a result in this after that first event.
Yes, he surely does. And being the world record holder, it really helps coming in, but the pressure's on him big time.
Right, how much mental is this then, this game?
It's going to be do or die, because as poorly as he finished in the yoke carry, he's got to take first in this, and he knows it.
All right, let's see how he gets on.
There are the rules. They're very simple indeed. You've got to lift as much as you can, and you have 30 seconds in order to complete the lift. The starting weight, 170 kilograms. And that was actually too much for JF Caron, finishing in 9th place in the first event and 10th place here. Terry Hollands was disappointing too. He got 170 as his opener, but couldn't do any more. Johannes Arho tied for 5th place. He lifted 185. Hafthor Bjornsson, the tallest man in the competition, managed 185 too. Ervin Katona, 185, the best lift for the Serbian. And then came Brian Shaw. We were expecting more from the big American, but he could only manage 185. And this certainly seems to be an event that Lithuanians enjoy. When the bar went up to 200 kilograms, the first man to lift it was Vytautas Lalas. So he is our current leader.
Žydrūnas Savickas.
He is the man when it comes to lifting logs. Žydrūnas Savickas, after that very disappointing display in the super yoke, needs to produce something special here. And who knows what he might lift. He is, of course, the world record holder at 216 kilos. So 210 certainly will look very easy indeed, and it does. That is immense from Savickas. He's back in business, and he is the current leader.
Well, that looked very easy, didn't it? And it keeps Lithuania's hopes alive as Lalas is bowed out at this weight. 210, no problem.
Please welcome Krzysztof Radzikowski.
That was certainly very impressive indeed from Savickas. Now it's the turn of Krzysztof Radzikowski.
In your own time, lift.
Looking calm and composed. Certainly is a big crowd here watching this log lift. Just rolls it up his chest. He's got almighty strong arms. Has he been given that? Yes, he has. 210 kilos. We've got 2 men in the competition so far at this weight. That is phenomenal.
Well, to show you the magnitude of that, Paul, no man has lifted above 205 before except Savickas. So that is the second best lift in history.
Well, now it's Mike Jenkins. He's seen 2 men lift this weight so far.
In your own time.
It would be incredible if we could get a third. We could have 3 men attempting new world record figures as the next weight. He's got to roll it up the chest, turn the wrists over. Here we go. Oh, yes. Absolutely brilliant. Mike Jenkins is on par with Radzikowski and Savickas.
When'd you get heavy, Colin?
He wants more weight.
Well, it's going to get heavier. 3 men have got through, and Jenkins, well, perhaps the easiest of the 3. What do they go to next?
Lithuania, Žydrūnas Savickas.
Former world record holder, now going for new world record figures of 220 kilograms. And believe it or not, we have 3 men in the competition. Radzikowski and Jenkins yet to go. But are we going to see our first world record of the World's Strongest Man competition this year? Yes, we are. He wasn't quite steady, but he's obviously in great shape. Savickas is on form once more.
Well, look at the way he thrusts it off his chest. No problem. Hits the lockout. It's a momentary pause. That's all you need.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, taking 3rd place.
Well, Radzikowski has decided to retire on 220, so it's over to Mike Jenkins, also attempting this new world record. I remember seeing weightlifters attempt around about 220, 225, thinking it was absolutely phenomenal. But when you see the strength of these guys lifting this very static, very heavy weight, you begin to wonder just what this weight will eventually go up to. Listen to the crowd, Colin.
Oh, he didn't get it as his first attempt. He's going to give it another go. Oh, goodness!
He hasn't been given it, though. The referee says no. He wasn't steady. He's not going to attempt it once more. So he's going to have to be satisfied with 210. He's absolutely disgusted. So there is our winner. A new world record and maximum points. Anybody who thought Savickas was out of this competition had better think again.
Well, look at the second attempt of Jenkins. He does just about lock out his right arm, but definitely not the left.
Big Z, you proved once again you're the greatest overhead.
Thank you. I was sure that today I lift new world record, and I train for this. My overhead power was in best shape ever.
It was a pretty bad start in the first event. How important was it to do good here?
I need now do in all events my best, because first event was not very good for me. I expect much better place, but now I will do in next 4 events my best.
Big Z setting yet another world record there in the log press, 220 kilos or 34.5 stone, and it looked like he had something in reserve. That's the impressive part. The bad news, though, for English fans is that Terry Hollands could only manage 170 kilos. And that leaves him in 7th place overall. The top 5 spots are looking very tight, just 2.5 points separating leader Mike Jenkins from Savickas. Also handily placed is Brian Shaw, despite his mediocre display in the log press. And the action continues thick and fast from the Commerce Hotel and Casino. Next up for our 10 mighty men is a WSM stalwart, the bus pull. Calling the shots as ever, Colin Bryce, and first, Paul Dickinson.
Well, this bus is a massive 24.5 metric tons. It's going to be pulled over the 25-metre course in a maximum time of 75 seconds. And Terry Hollands, down in 7th place, he won't be happy with that. He's got to produce something remarkable here. Well, there are our leaders at the moment. The giant Icelandic man, Hafthor Bjornsson, leads 44.71 to complete the course. Brian Shaw, the defending champion, in 2nd place. That was a bit of a surprise. But what can Terry Hollands produce here? He's got the advantage of superior body weight, but can he get those giant legs moving as well?
This bus pull is much harder than the truck pull he did in the heats. If you remember last year on an extremely hard pull as well in the final, Hollands failed to finish it. So he's got a real point to prove here.
And look at the heart rate monitor on the right-hand side of the screen as well. You're going to see some figures in excess of 190 beats per minute. That is how hard our strongmen are working. Now, the front of the bus has to go over the line. The leading time at the moment, 44.71. Is he going to beat it? Yes, he is. Terry Hollands goes into the lead, 42.97. He looks quite fresh, in fact, and desperately looking for the time. Gregor Edmonds, one of the referees there, gives him the time. I think Terry Hollands will be delighted.
What a phenomenal effort by the Brit. Thor and Terry now the only 2 men under a minute, and he's in the lead.
Terry, your specialty is pulling really big, heavy things. As a specialist, we describe what it's like to pull a 54,000-pound bus.
Just pain, pretty much. That's about all I can describe at the moment. My body's hurting from head to toe, and the lactic acid I've got is just unbelievable, just burning from head to toe.
You came into this competition hoping for a podium spot. What do you feel your chances are at this point?
I mean, it wasn't an ideal start for me. The first event didn't go as well as I expected. Second one as well. Hopefully I can get a win on this event and then push on from there. I think after 3 events last year, I was sitting on 20 points. If I can get the win in this event, I'll be sitting on 16. So not too far behind where I was last year, and I've got my bad event out the way.
Well, Vytautas Lalas is lying in 2nd place overall at the moment. So his World's Strongest Man final has got away to a cracking start. He's actually ahead of his more illustrious teammate Savickas, who's currently down in 5th place, but making a move on everybody. So what has Lalas got for the bus pull? That 24.5-ton bus only just moving, so Lalas not away to the best start.
Now, he doesn't have the body weight of some of the much bigger men like Hollands, Bjornsson, Jenkins. He's got to overcome that then with just sheer power.
His pulse rate is rising. It's going to go above 170 in a minute. The time to beat belongs to Terry Hollands. I think he's going to fall short of that, but Lalas eventually getting things rolling. This is looking much better for Vytautas Lalas. His pulse is absolutely massive, heading towards 190. Terry Hollands' time has been and gone. The Englishman is still in the lead. And Lalas finishes in 52.56. Good enough for 3rd place, behind Bjornsson, but behind Terry Hollands.
52.56.
I'm a big man, he says. Well done, Lalas.
Yeah, I think he has a bit of a point to prove. No one saw him doing well in this. He's just, well, he's the lightest man in the final, probably. Well done.
Our next competitor, proudly representing Lithuania. Let's hear it for Zydrunas.
Well, the big question is, can Zydrunas keep this momentum going? 7th place in the first event. The winner of the log lift, of course. So now he's on a bit of a roll. Let's see if he can get this bus moving. You can see the slight incline at the beginning. And that is an area where everybody has been struggling, even the heaviest man in the final.
Well, you can see Lalas was much lower. Zaviskus, his body much more upright. And that's not a great pulling position. It's surprising from perhaps the most experienced strongman in the world.
I wouldn't be at all surprised, though, Colin, if once he gets going, that this bus would accelerate down the course. A very high pulse rate for this part of the course, that's for sure. And Terry Holland's time looks pretty safe to me. I think it's going to be maximum points for the Englishman.
You know what, Paul? Look at his rope. It's very slack. He's really not using his arms well at all. That's costing him enormously. This kind of heavy pull, you have to use the entire body.
Well, that wasn't great technique, as you said. It's not going to be great points either for Zaviskus. But still trying to chase down the giant Brian Shaw, the American, to take the title away from him.
While the pain was worth it for Terry Hollands, the Englishman using all that raw power to take victory in an event that he's made his own over recent years. Hafthor Bjornsson taking second, and another impressive display from Vytautas Lalas there in third. Terry Holland's victory moves him up to 6th place overall. At the top, Vytautas Lalas goes into a 2.5-point lead at the midway stage. His countryman Zaviskus is closing fast, though. After another disappointing performance, Brian Shaw, meanwhile, down to 4th. He's one of the smallest men in the field, but Vytautas Lalas is setting a red-hot pace in the Californian sunshine. Things could get even worse for his competitors after the break, as the Lithuanian tackles one of his favourite events. Next up, it's the deadlift. Welcome back to the final of the World's Strongest Man 2012. Let's get straight back to the action now with our commentators, Colin Bryce and first, Paul Dickinson.
Well, we've seen this equipment being used for squatting in the past. It's been slightly adjusted now in terms of weight. 360 kilograms to be lifted as many times as possible in the classic deadlift pose. Zydrunas Zaviskus in 3rd place.
Champion representing the United States of America.
And he's up against the defending World's Strongest Man champion. So this is a real clash of the titans. You saw that caption there, only 3.5 points behind the leader. And there we have JF Caron. He's in the lead at the moment. Strong deadlifter, the Canadian. He's got 6 repetitions to his credit. Zaviskus draws first blood, closely followed by Shaw.
Well, if you look at Shaw's technique, each time he rolls it away from himself and back in again, it wastes time, it wastes energy. It's just the way he does it.
Well, even Zaviskus is taking his time between each repetition. So it's pretty even at the moment. 2 great champions going head-to-head in another brilliant test of strength.
Well, Shaw just had to jacket up his thighs a little bit there. He's starting to burn out, Shaw. Zaviskus, a clean lift again.
And Zaviskus has drawn level now with Caron of Canada. So has Shaw. But how much have either of these 2 giant men got left? Zaviskus gets 7. And Shaw just troubling with that left arm at the moment. He's had nerve damage in it before, and that could affect him badly. Zaviskus gets another one. The whistle goes just at the moment that Zaviskus got his 8th lift, and that means the Lithuanian is leading in this competition. And Brian Shaw looking very tentatively at his left arm, but there is our leader. That really has brought a spring to his step.
Yeah, Shaw, you can see he's glancing over at it. That damaged bicep earlier in the year really costing him there, but Zaviskus kept going to the final whistle.
So a little bit of comfort there to the defending champion by his girlfriend.
Please welcome from England, Terry Hollands.
Now this is another great head-to-head. Terry Hollands in 6th place.
Representing Lithuania, please welcome Vytautas Lalas.
Vytautas Lalas, another great Lithuanian. He really is a man of bullish extremes. Short, squat, very broad, very muscular. So the famous pink socks are on display again, Colin.
Hollands has got a much further distance to travel with each deadlift. He's so much taller than Lalas. Right now, it's a good contest. Both men on 3.
Terry Hollands gets 4, Lalas gets 4. It's neck and neck all the way. Remember, Zaviskus totaled 8. And Terry Hollands just taking a bit of a rest. So Lalas it is who gets the advantage. He's got 6. That draws level with Caron. And Hollands about to get number 6, is he? Yes, he is.
Well, with only 60 seconds, they've got to get on with it. Not much time left. Terry's got perhaps one more in him if he goes for it. Lalas to go for 8 and equals Zaviskus.
Well, the crowd really trying to raise these two men to heights that they've never been to in the past. Hollands given 7, Lalas gets 7. What a great contest between the two. Little shake of the head there from Vytautas Lalas. Frustrated, he couldn't draw level with the great Zaviskus. Terry Hollands, though, has got to be pleased with that, surely.
Well, I thought Terry Hollands worked the clock a lot better there. Lalas, if he'd have waited another few seconds before that final one, he might have got it. Hollands waited right to the end and just eked it out.
So it's the two-time champion that just edges an incredibly tight deadlift. But how big a mental blow will Big Z's dominance of Brian Shaw prove? Terry Hollands looking extremely impressive for his 7 reps, and once again, Vytautas Lalas among the big points. And he's held on to first place, just the leaderboard headed by the 2 Lithuanians, the pair separated by just 1.5 points. Brian Shaw's 4th place finish moves him back into the podium places, but Terry Hollands is hot on the Americans' heels.
Well, on then to the penultimate event, and it is the rock lift. A modern take this on an ancient Scottish test of strength. We have 5 chunks of granite freshly hewn from a Scottish quarry, and they have to be lifted up onto these 5 podiums. Now, Bill Kazmaier here himself, hewn from a quarry somewhere. Bill, although these don't look that big after those giant barbells, the message is don't be fooled by the rocks that we got. These are still very nasty.
They're really heavy. They're really awkward. The guys haven't had a chance to practice with these, so if you're good with the rocks, you just grab them and go.
It's another event for the big men, or is Lalas going to surprise us once more?
The big surprise, Lalas, I think he's got it in the tank. He wants to win this title more than anybody else right now. I say he really moves fast.
All right. 137 kilos the lightest, 170 kilos the heaviest. One other thing's for sure, if Terry Hollands is going to be on the podium again this year, he needs a big performance here.
He certainly does, and that's what lies in wait for Terry and everybody else. 75-second time limit, and those 5 giant rocks will have to be lifted as quickly as possible.
Gentlemen, please welcome, from England, Terry Hollands.
Terry Hollands waiting patiently. That 3rd place came twice in 2007 and 2011. But Mike Jenkins leading the way so far, lifting all 5 rocks in 37.40.
Ready!
Well, this first one should be easy. Indeed it is. Terry Hollands' campaign is underway in this giant rock lift and going well at the moment, Colin.
Yeah, it's not the weight of these rocks, it's the shape. Some of them a lot more awkward than others. Hollands dealing with the first 3 fairly well. Oh, no! And it slipped out his hands there.
I'm just wondering if he's injured himself there. Because it almost came down on his foot. I think we should be more concerned about the shape of his biceps and his forearms. Beginning to struggle just a little bit, and he's not going to beat the time of 37.40. That's a big disappointment for Terry Hollands.
Well, that really knocked him out of his stride. Now he's looking for a hold here. He hasn't seen these stones before, so he's got to figure it out as he goes.
Well, you heard how heavy this final rock is, 170 kilos. And even the giant Terry Hollands is having problems lifting it and getting it onto the platform. This is tough. And he's pointing at his left arm and suggesting he has got an injury.
A real shame for Hollands. This should have been a brilliant event for him. He just seemed to slow up and then mistimed his third stone.
Well, we certainly do need to know what has happened, so let's see if James can catch up with the man from Dartford.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, well, I'm here in the treatment area now with Terry Hollands. Terry, what happened?
Just lifting a second stone, felt a pop in my bicep, and seems like I've detached the tendon off the bone. So, yeah, very frustrating way to finish, and yeah, really disappointed. Obviously, I was getting myself back in a good position, and it all sort of fell apart. So, you know, can't be helped. Injuries are part of the sport, but it's just very frustrating at the moment.
Does something like this make you even more intent on coming back next year?
I mean, I said coming into it, I wasn't sure if I'd do another year, and it just seems like a bad way to end my career like that. So, I don't know. I'll have a long, hard think when I get home, and maybe I'll be back, maybe I won't. You know, we'll just see how it goes.
Please welcome, from Iceland, Hafthor Bjornsson.
Very disappointing for Terry Hollands for sure, but the contest goes on. Hafthor Bjornsson now, still trying to chase down that time of 37.4 for all 5 stones from Mike Jenkins, being watched by his father, who's a pretty big man as well. But this guy is absolutely flying at the moment.
Goodness me, he's manhandling these stones. 3 up in about 12 seconds. Number 4, no problem. Now the big one.
It does help to be tall, of course, but you've got to be immensely strong and powerful as well. And Bjornsson has set a time which surely is going to be good enough for victory. That is brilliant. We've still got the world's strongest man from last year to go, but Bjornsson has set a massive target.
Well, his first one was so quick, I thought he wouldn't keep the pace up, but the last one, the fastest of all.
Please welcome, for the United States of America, Brian Shaw.
Well, what can Brian Shaw do about the time that has just been set by the young Icelandic giant, Hafthor Bjornsson? That is one of the most phenomenal performances that we've seen in the competition so far by Bjornsson, and that was a poor start by Shaw.
Yeah, already a fumble on the first one, just misgripped it. He's normally the fastest of all at the Atlas stones, but this isn't the same.
Well, just a reminder of the time that Bjornsson set, 25.52, and that is going to disappear in an instant. So it's not going to be maximum points for Brian Shaw. He's still chasing big points, though. If this one goes up, it could be useful. Oh, he may just be outside of second place. Well, in defense of his title, has he done enough? I'm not sure. Third place only in the Rockcliffe. And of course, Brian Shaw aiming to become a multiple winner of World's Strongest Man. Here is the all-time list, led by the great Mariusz Pudzianowski with 5 World's Strongest Man titles. The next man, Zydrunas Savickas, aiming to become another man who's won this title 3 times. He's in second place overall. Still, that time by Bjornsson is the time to beat. An absolutely phenomenal achievement by Iceland's young giant.
Well, he makes no mistakes with the first 2, but he's not rushing at it. I think he just wants to get decent points, try and stay ahead of Brian Shaw.
And let's not forget about his teammate Lalas as well, who's ahead of him in the overall standings at the moment. But the time by Bjornsson is gone, so he's not going to win this event. And he is struggling with that last rock. Got to make it steady, hands off. That is the rule. And he moves into second place with a time of 32.13.
Well, that was extremely good from Savickas. The last stone, just a little fumble, but he got it up.
Ladies and
Had to get his hands off, though. That probably cost a second or 2.
Vytautas Lalas.
Well, it's become a Lithuanian battle for the number 1 and number 2 spot at the moment. And this is the penultimate event, so if he could win this one, he's got a real chance of taking victory overall.
Well, again, a little fumble there at the start. Didn't quite pick it as he probably would have wanted to. So he's going to have to start picking the pace up, and he is. Wow, that second one was brilliant.
Well, I've said it in the past, but I'll say it again. He's short, he's stocky. He's incredibly strong. And you need strong arms, strong hands as well to do these lifts with these giant rocks. Pulse rate rising. It's going to go above 180. Can he beat his teammate? Well, just short of Zaviskus. So Zaviskus gets an advantage with second place in the rock lift. No doubt about the winner, though.
Well, Lalas does well again in another event that he shouldn't be good at. Brilliant stuff.
Vytautas, you really are making a mark for the little guys. Big Z being your training partner. What are your emotions going in? Do you know you can beat him? Do you beat him in training?
I respect Big Z a lot. He's my mentor, you know, and I don't think that I'll be in that sport, you know, because when I was growing up, I look up to him, you know. He was the best strongman in the world, you know, and that's what kept me motivated. So regardless where we're going to finish, you know, first or second, I don't really care. And the top 2 Lithuanians in the world, it's a very big deal for our country, you know.
Vytautas Lalas trying his best to sound blasé about the prospect of being the world's strongest man and not being particularly successful. He did better with the rocks, though, another 3rd place for the Lithuanian. Once again, though, his countryman Big Z ahead of him, as is the Icelander Hafthor Bjornsson. Terry Holland's challenge may be over, but the contest couldn't be any closer at the top. Just half a point separating the 2 leaders, and with just 1 event to go, it's fairly safe to say that one of them will claim the most coveted title in strength athletics. It may be warm and sunny in Los Angeles, but nothing compares to the heat of the competition here between our Lithuanian Leviathans. Join us after the break as we find out who will be the world's strongest man for 2012.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Commerce Casino in Los Angeles, California. Well, we started out with 30 strongmen battling for the title here. It's now down to just 2. Zydrunas Savickas, the 2-time world champion, and his close friend and training partner, Vytautas Lalas. And there's just half a point between them going into this, the decisive final event. I have to say, the organisers have pulled out all the stops for this one. As we get down the bottom, we find these weights. And look, a volunteer, Jim, who likes to work out. He can deadlift about, what, 550, 600? By all means, pick one of these fellas up. These are 500 pounds, there's about 225 kilos. But the kick is, they have to get these and jump up those 5 steps to a total height of 2.20 meters. Absolutely extraordinary. What's more, thanks, Jim, nice one, they have to do it 3 times. Sincerely, it's an almost impossible task, unless you're one of the world's strongest men.
Well, I'd like to see James demonstrating that once in a while. Never mind, 75 seconds is the time limit. So those 3 weights, a giant 225 kilos each, they've got to be pulled up 15 steps in total. And there is the situation with this 1 event to go. Lalas leads, but only by half a point from a man who's got experience on his side. The defending champion is in 3rd place.
From the United States of America, Brian
And there
Shaw.
he is. He's got to finish in the top 3 and beat Bjornsson to get a podium position.
Welcome, Hafthor Bjornsson.
And there is Bjornsson, looking quite confident, it has to be said. Well, in theory, these guys have got a chance to win the World's Strongest Man title, but it is a forlorn chance, I have to say. Mike Jenkins, he leads at the moment. He finished the course, 43.77. That was an outstanding time.
Ready?
Here we go, the very last event. And I guess both of these guys, Colin, have got a slight advantage over everybody else because they're over 2 meters tall, and that does make a difference.
Absolutely. Shaw, 6'8". Bjornsson, 6'9". Lalas is more like 5'9". It really does help to have height here. And Bjornsson into the lead, 2 up.
It's very steady from the Icelander, goes charging back down the steps. He's obviously a bit fatigued now, but you can't blame him for that. 2 steps to go to set the target. That is great from Bjornsson. He's got a chance of making the podium. Brian Shaw has lost his title, there's no doubt about that. But Bjornsson is the king of the castle at the moment in the power stairs. 36.82 the target. And Brian Shaw, he's probably lost his place on the podium now, looking a bit disconsolate.
Well, that was a great battle. Two giants going at it, but it's Bjornsson, the youngster, who gets it.
It comes down to this. Please welcome, from Lithuania, Žydrūnas Savickas.
It's very calm and cool down there for Savickas.
From Lithuania,
he's been in this situation before. He's up against his younger teammate, Lalas, who's never won this title in the past. But it all depends on this. What a climax to this competition. It's been fascinating. It's been jaw-dropping on some occasions. But this is where Savickas is really coming to life, Colin.
37 years old, and there's still plenty of life left in him yet. Goodness me. Lalas having to overcome this slight height difficulty. That hasn't bothered him in other events, though. But right now, he's way behind.
He's ahead of schedule as well to win it, and Lalas is miles behind. And I fear this means that Lalas will not win the World's Strongest Man title for the first time. Savickas is falling a bit behind on the schedule. He set himself early doors. But that, I think, is going to be good enough to win World's Strongest Man once again and become one of only a few men in history to have lifted the title for the third time. He lost World's Strongest Man title last year to Brian Shaw, and this time he retains the title. He's won twice, and boy, is he going to be pleased. Lalas looking very disappointed indeed. But it is going to be a Lithuanian 1-2 in the greatest test of strength this world has ever known.
Well, it was a terrible start, Paul. The Super Yoki was 7th, but then he pulled out a world record in the log and then slowly clawed his way back to the very top, the World's Strongest Man title.
Žydrūnas, you seemed confident coming in. You proved you're the world's strongest man. How do you feel?
I'm very happy. It's one of the best days in my life. To win third title in World's Strongest Man, for me, is very important. Now I have same titles with greatest athlete, Bill Kazmaier.
It was great. Can you go one better than Kazmaier and take a fourth?
I will see. I will think about it and maybe come back next year.
Another impressive performance from Hafthor Bjornsson means he wins the power stairs and with it beats Shaw and Jenkins for third place. But the most important outcome of the heat is that Žydrūnas Savickas finishes ahead of his countryman, Vytautas Lalas. And that means that Big Z has become the world's strongest man for the third time. And who'd bet against him going to challenge for a fourth title in 2013? Lalas has to settle for a runner-up position, a fantastic achievement for the smallest man in the field. Well, what a final that was, and what a competition this has been here in Los Angeles, California. We've had blood, sweat, and we've had tears, and we've had some questions too. Was Brian Shaw at his best? Will Terry Holland ever be back? For now, though, all that remains to be said is congratulations to all our athletes and Žydrūnas Savickas, Metrex World's Strongest Man 2012.